Hello. I'm on YouTube now, and I think it's working. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. Um, I usually do this on Twitch, but I'm here on YouTube for a little, just to test out some features. And I'm just going to be hanging out, inking some new Terraquil pages today, and just kind of relaxing and kind of talking about whatever. Probably art and comics. So, hey Chug Chugs, how's it going? Good to see you here. Yeah, thanks for hopping in a little bit today. Um, I don't think anything's changed too much since the Twitch streams. I don't think anything will have changed. In fact, uh, assuming you can still hear me, which I don't know if you can. I hope you can. But yeah, I'm just gonna be hanging out, working on this Terraquil page, which is for book 2 of Terraquil Horizons. Which, if anybody doesn't know, it's a brand new book that I'm kickstarting on Friday. It's the first issue. They're short stories. Back in like 2015, I released my very first attempt at making comics, which was called Terraquil. They were short stories that I collected myself after. So I would write and draw them, and then print them at the library, and sell them for a couple bucks. And I'm basically doing it again. It's going to be a whole bunch of new short stories. The sound is working fine, thank you. It's 10 new short stories, but I'm going to be releasing them in one book at a time. Each book has 2 short stories in it. Let's try and keep this in frame here. Each book has 2 short stories in it. And there's going to be 5 of them. And then when they're all done, I'll probably collect them in a big trade paperback volume. But before then, they all have to be released as kind of single issues that I'm going to do in a smaller format than usual. I think I usually publish books in, not I think, I know, because I'm the one who publishes them. I usually publish them in, I think it's 6.625 by 10.25, I think is the size. Standard comic book size. For these, I'm going 5 by 7.5, I think, or it could be 5.5 by 7. I can't remember what it is. But it's manga sized. If you've ever read manga, you're gonna feel quite familiar with this size. I think a lot of books are being published at that size right now, and I think it's smart. I've been waiting 2 years. It's been about 2 years since I kind of had this thought that in the future we're going to be seeing a lot more books over here in the West published in that format, that manga size. It just makes so much more sense to me from a logistics perspective, right? Like, how do you ship books week to week when it's only going to get more expensive to ship like large books, right? Like the Western style traditional format. That's only going to get more expensive, and you know, love it or hate it, and probably hate it. Capitalism says that money has to be more money has to be made year to year, and that means that costs have to be cut. And I think that one of the ways that you can cut costs without sacrificing quality is by changing the format that everything is printed in. And so that's, it was only a matter of time before DC and Marvel started releasing these. I can't remember what they're called. They're the pocket editions, I think. They're reprints of classic stories, but in basically manga size. And that was only a matter of time. I think that they're testing the waters to see if they can start doing this for all of their books, the current books, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you are really tied to that format, That will probably still exist, but you'll probably just have to pay a premium for it. And I say just, that's not a good thing. um, but yeah, it's all changing. What was I supposed to do here? I think I forgot a line here. Just call an audible. It's all changing. Shipping is more expensive than ever. Formats are becoming more. That format is becoming more expensive to work with. Printing, you save a ton of money on printing when you switch formats like that. It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, that's my rant to start this off. I hope everybody's doing well. Chugga-chugs, how are you doing? What's happening? So this is just me sitting here inking comics. This is something I've wanted to do for a little while. Have an actual kind of comic art type show where I can just kind of hang out and ink comics and chat. And I've been doing this on Twitch for a little while, on and off. But it felt like YouTube was maybe a better space for that. Which I say, nothing against Twitch. I still quite like it over there. Amazing community, and I'm sure I'll be back streaming on there eventually, but can I erase this first? I think I should. Okay, hold on. Let me think about this for a sec. Doing good. I mostly been hanging out with friends, getting excited about the new Magic set coming out. Oh, Edge of Eternities? It looks awesome. It looks so good. I'm still not sure how I feel about Spacecraft. I think the station costs might slow decks down a whole lot, but I love the flavor and the theme of it. So I think it'll be a good set just for that. And some of the cards do look absolutely amazing too. There's some broken cards in the set. I don't know if anything will, scratch my Final Fantasy itch the way, if any future sets will, fire the way that Final Fantasy did for me. And to be honest, I kind of overdid it with the Final Fantasy set, so I'm out on Edge of Eternities. But I'm super excited for everybody who is excited for it, because it does look amazing. Okay, before I add any more spot blacks, I'm going to do a little bit of this background here. There's a statue in the background and some mountains. And I just want to end up going. So I tend to use one of these ballpoint pens. Actually, I don't think this is a ballpoint pen, but it is a pen, and I use these for backgrounds usually. This is made of stone, so we kind of want to add cracks and a little bit of texture to it, right? There's a sliver in jar. I'm hoping some new slivers since the thrumming hive pool was teased. Oh, interesting. Of course you like slivers, which I say that with peace and love. I think they're fun to play, and I think they make you what is it? The first target, enemy number one, I don't know, at the table, which they should. They're very good and scary. So I think that's neat. But yeah, I'm surprised. I haven't, I think there was one sliver shown, wasn't there? Or something? No, there was, oh yeah, I think that card that you mentioned, the one that makes slivers. We're just gonna add cracks and again more texture to this. Have to make sure I don't overdo it, which is probably gonna happen because it just tends to. This is also all gonna be not painted, ink washed. Turn that in and we'll drop it down. This is a leg that's kind of popping out. But yeah, that's it. The set looks amazing. It looks super cool. If anything, I think I'll draft it. I think I'll hop in for a couple of drafts and yeah, play some sealed or some limited or something. A good friend of mine is heading off to our local game store today to rock a few games, but I got to do Kickstarter preparation for Friday, so I can't go out and play. It's a bit of a shame. Well, he's playing standard and I don't play standard, so maybe it's not a bit of a shame. But if it was draft, I would be very sad. I know most people's feelings about slivers. Yeah, yeah. My sliver deck just fully relies on the first sliver to cascade out random slivers everywhere. Fair, yeah. That's what it does, and it does it really well, and everyone has feelings about it. I'm sure it has won you more than a few games, though. Excellent card. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess move into some grass here. I'm gonna try and keep this grass close together, and I'm just gonna improvise it here. There's no point following the pencils exactly, because those are improvised too. So we'll just this is kind of a bit of a cliffside. This will make more sense when we get into ink washing. Yeah, I haven't played as much Magic as I've wanted to the past month. It's just I'm in the middle of a move, so things are kind of they're kind of tricky right now for game time. But I'll be back. Actually, you know what was cool? I just saw this the other day. A Gundam card game just came out. Now it's by Bandai, who I don't think make great card games, to be honest. I think they make fine card games, and I will play them, you know, when they come out, just to test them out, see if they're doing anything different. Yeah, this one looks like fun. It's the embodiment of random bullshit go, 100%. Yeah, which I've never mind. I've always said, like, play the things that make you happy. If that's slivers, then then it's slivers. And people at the table will, you know, deal with that stuff. I don't think anything is too overpowered, except Eminence. All right, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I think Eminence is way overpowered. And anytime somebody breaks out an Eminence commander, I'm like, all right. I feel bad because I will immediately go after them. It's just too much strength everywhere all at once, right? It just never ends. We can tighten this up a little bit, yeah. Also, my Christmas deck is getting a new commander. Its name is Zerju, the Great-Hearted. It has an ability where I can pay 3 colors to give target opponent permanent control. That's an older one, right? Does it look like a goat wizard or something? Which is, you know, I never considered that would be such a good Christmas commander. You're just giving everyone presents. But something tells me that they're not the kind of presents that people want to hold on to. Oops. Or they're going to be punished for taking your stuff. Which isn't very Christmas-like, by the way. But that's super cool. That sounds like a neat addition to any table. I think any deck, even if it's a really tricky deck to get around, anything that incentivizes interaction just is immediately a good commander deck. When it gives people choices, or like that deck where you're lending your permanents out, even if you're hurting them, I think it makes for fun commander games. No, upkeeping an X life, draw X cards. X number of permanents I own but don't control. Yes, right. Yeah, that drawing X cards clause is pretty alright. The Gundam card game looks like it plays exactly like the Dragon Ball Super card game, which I did play for a little bit back in the day. Thought it was a good card game, but the power creep was awful, and it's something that every game developer has to kind of really be aware of and go into the game understanding that it will be a thing, but you really have to manage it properly. And they didn't in Dragon Ball Super. And it was a bit of a shame. So that's one of the reasons I miss Magic's. What did they used to do? Was it 3 set blocks? Am I remembering this correctly? Or was it 2 set? Was it 3 and then it went to 2? And now there are no blocks. It's just play play the single set that we release, and that's kind of. Am I remembering that correctly? I do remember there being blocks, and I quite liked it because the mechanics would transfer from block to block, and they wouldn't just move on to something new, right? They would actually have to build mechanics in a way where they're going to stick around for 6 months. So yeah, you're not just introducing a whole bunch of new stuff at the same time. I think that's fine. We don't want to go overboard. It's a goat person. Creature type is Minotaur Monk. Minotaur? Okay, I guess Minotaurs are goat people. That's pretty cool. To add something to her shoulder here that I forgot to pencil in. Just this little insignia. Looks like a U. Okay. Yeah, that works. So I'm gonna try, I think, erasing some of the pencil here in this panel. We'll try filling in all the spot blacks. We'll see how that works. Just let that dry for a sec. And while that's drying, set that up. Not gonna fall. A little bit of coffee. So, yeah, this is a bit of a cozy little art stream that I think I want to try doing for a little bit here on YouTube. And it is cozy. It's called the Cryin over Spilt Ink Artcast. And I'm just gonna hang out, gonna make comics. It's very much like the Twitch thing. And yeah, this is it. I just kind of want to relax and make comics. I'm about to get into a groove where I'm going to be having to do a page a day, just inks, for new Terrical stuff. And so I figured, why not kind of hang out and do those live every day. I think it's going to be Tuesday and Thursday. And it's just going to be making art, talking about making comics. So, I hope anybody kind of hanging out watching just learns a little bit about, storytelling and inking, and I may end up having to do some painting as well, which I don't have any examples of nearby. But what I do have examples of is that COSI Artcast logo that you can kind of see. It looks like a smiley face that's Cryin ink. So that... That was something I did yesterday. So hey Ricky, how's it going, man? Hope you're well. Just kind of hanging out, making art. This is just like Twitch. Nothing has changed, except I've done a little bit of branding, and I'm probably going to be here on YouTube for a little while I ink comics for new Terrible stuff. How are you doing? What's happening? So I'm just kind of showing off what I was doing last night, which was coming up with the idea for that logo, that smiley face that was crying ink. So it turned, this is what it started off as, and I was like, okay, I'll just do, it's some type of inky smiley face, right? And as I kept going with it, sorry, as I kept going with it, it started to turn into this crying inky starty face, smiley face. It's all good. Just subbed. Oh, thank you. It's actually not doing it beforehand. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Nothing is, like I said, nothing's changing from like the Twitch stream. I just kind of really, I spent a lot of more time on YouTube, and so it kind of felt natural. So yeah, that turned into this, and I just kept kind of going with these ideas. Where did I go from there? I went into this. This huge sheet of multiple takes on... Look at this one. I don't know what that is, but that's something. That's something, all right. And yeah, this big sheet just ended up being filled with takes. I think I didn't hate this one. I think this is the one that it just started to actually make sense of what I wanted to do with this single tear coming down its eye. Whatever works, right? Yeah, totally. And then this, I believe, on the back, yeah, there's a little bit more. And if this seems like a waste of paper, don't worry. I will be repurposing this paper as scratch pads for when I'm painting. I will also be repurposing this one, which is a different sheet of paper, with a whole bunch more takes on it. Some of these are just... I mean, they were all improvised, and I didn't really go in with a plan. Yeah, none of these really work. They're a little bit too messy. Oh. Same thing on the back. This is before this one's... I like this one. It just looks like it's shooting its tears out. Kind of like Binding of Isaac a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. This one, I dug, but Stan Sakai has an Usagi Yojimbo logo, and this is way too close to that. Certainly influenced by it, but I didn't want to step on his toes. He already perfected that look, you know? And so, from there, here's another sheet. Demon Slayer shirt is awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is a gift from my mother. She saw this and thought I would like it, and she was right. She didn't even know what it was when she saw it. She just thought it was cool. Yeah, she wasn't wrong. A few more. Some of these, this is when it started to become something that I didn't hate, or that I thought I could actually probably work a little bit. So this one down here, this is the one I ended up using, I believe. Yeah, this is the one. I ended up cleaning it up a little bit, but I just took a photo of this and slapped it into Photoshop, cleaned it up a little bit. But there was so many different takes on this. And yeah, none of them were great. but that one I kind of liked. So I figured why not roll with that. And that's how we got here. So I think this is dry now. I can keep going with the inking. I also wanted to show that because a lot of the time people don't really see the failures. I think a lot of people don't like to show off the failed attempts at something. But failing at something is one of the most integral parts of succeeding, I think. I was talking about this in the last Substack post. Looks like the comic is coming along amazingly, though. Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is what I'm inking right now is issue 2. What hits Kickstarter on Friday is issue 1, which is already done. And so I'm going to try and do one of these Kickstarters once every 2 months. And again, they're going to be short books. They only cost $10. So I feel like releasing one of those every 2 months isn't a bad idea. Usually the Kickstarters that I do are upwards of like 10 grand per goal. This one is $400. So I think it'll be, I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm hoping it's easy to hit, but we'll see. But yeah, usually the goals are a lot bigger, right? So trying something a little different. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to be taking notes and really kind of assessing the performance from a self-publisher's perspective. And I would like to collect some data that I can share with the rest of the self-publishing community, because I think there might be something valuable in doing small format books at a very low goal. But we'll see. I know that some people already do that. But I haven't really seen many people sharing data about it, so I'm going to give that a shot, and we'll see. So in the last Substack post, I was talking about AI, generative AI, and just my thoughts on that. I don't think I said anything profound that like people are gonna, write essays about in years. But for me, the most important thing was dissecting what art is. There's no good answer for that, by the way. That's going to change person to person. And that in itself is good art, if that makes sense. I think discussing art isn't art itself. And I think that discussion is going to be generative AI's legacy. Is it gave us more opportunity to talk about what art is. If that makes sense. That might just sound like rambling. But one of the most important things that AI can't do is fail. Even if you input a prompt and it doesn't come out the way you wanted it to, the AI compiled something that it believed was correct. According to itself, it didn't fail, even if you believe it did. And so AI is incapable of failing at something, which means it's impossible at succeeding at something. And I've always thought that, I don't know how to explain this properly, but I'm going to try. So this comic page here, this isn't the art. This is the product. The art is the space between me and the product, right? Like this space between what I've made. That's what the art is. That's where the artistry takes place. Not in my hand movements. Not in the ink absorbing into this paper. The artistry takes place in the space between us. And that space doesn't exist in artificial intelligence. I don't think. So, yeah, it's, but people will say, hey, if I create a prompt, I'm still an artist. That was still an artistic thing. And I actually agree with that. I do think that if you create a prompt to feed into an AI model, then you've done something artistic, for sure. I don't think anyone can take that away. The product that is created is not artistic, and the art ends as soon as you press enter. Okay? If that may sound crazy, but yeah, I think that if you can create a prompt, you've created something with artistic merit to it. But as soon as you enter it into an artificial intelligence machine, I think that's when the art disappears. Or not disappears, you still made a prompt, you still did something. But I think that Yeah, I think that it just ends there. Do a little bit of feathering to kind of create a little bit of separation between this, the underneath of this stone structure and her head, and we'll just kind of keep a little bit of feathering going there. Create almost a little bit of a halo. And then I think we can probably, this is her hair. I'd like to put a little bit of line work under here, just as it's, this is hard to tell, but this is a leg coming out of like a long dress. Just gonna put a little bit of line work there as it's hitting the light. Get where you're coming from, so it just doesn't capture the authenticity and expression sometimes, like what artists try and convey. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's an idea that you prompt to try and bring your vision to life. Yeah. And in some ways it does, and in some ways it doesn't. It's a really weird space and an interesting area to talk about. We're also in the wild west of this space right now. Do I have to keep erasing this? Hold on, sorry. I'm trying out some new paper as well, and it's not my favorite so far. It could grow on me. I think it's actually great for ink washing, but I was hoping that pencil would erase from it more easy. Here we are. Yeah, it's a weird space to talk about. We're definitely in the wild west of this space right now. And it'll be interesting to see how legislation affects it. I think we just started seeing a little bit on YouTube, right? Didn't YouTube just announce that you can't monetize AI content or something like that? Which I absolutely love, like, good for them. But I've always said, if these AI companies, if these tech companies started allowing artists to opt in and to allow their art to be used and to make a little bit of money off of it, I would sign up for that. I don't use AI, but I would certainly sign up for a service that let me, you know, pay a little bit of rent by lending my art out for these models. Sure. Spotify is already stealing like 50% of my revenue just by allowing me to host my music up on their, you know, platform. So I'm sure that these AI models, these tech companies could make a little bit of money the same way. Not that I like that. In fact, I've been thinking about not uploading anything else to Spotify, music-wise. I switched over to Bandcamp, and it's been awesome. It's free. Anybody can just fire it up and listen to music. No subscription or anything. And then if they like it, they can pitch some money your way. And to me, that's like the perfect model, where you're not paying into a service, and then the artist is getting... I think Spotify is 0.003 cents a listen or something like that. I think you need like 4 listens to make a penny, which is like, you know, thanks guys. Anyway, this isn't the complaint about Spotify stream, but it could be. And I'm sure one day it probably will be based off of their revenue model. But yeah, it's never really been an easier time to own your own content and to kind of make things happen on your own, right? These are all in silhouette, these panels here. These are all, yeah, so there's no detail here. This is just going to be filled in with ink. And so this page is kind of weird. You can see that this panel has both characters and a ground and everything. The one below it just has the right side, and then again the right side. I'm going to be copying and pasting the left side down here on each one, just to save some time. I don't really feel like drawing it over again, and it kind of doesn't matter if I do. Oh, you know what? Okay, I was going to outline this grass and then ink it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different, but I got to get these figures finished first, and then I'll show you. Cool. All right. Let those dry, and then I'll erase them and finish up that grass. There we go. Trying to think if I want to add a little bit more detail into anything here in these panels, and kind of have to fight when your inking is so kind of improvised, I guess. You just have to you have to know when enough is enough, when enough detail has been added, when like you're feeling like I could move on from this as it is right now and be happy with that. But then I look at a spot and it's like, that could use a line there, couldn't it? So I know that once I move into that territory, it's time to say stop. Like, you don't have to do that. This is something different. I actually forgot to add a little bit of a strap here. So we'll do that. Hers there. And yeah, these two are eating chocolate chip cookies, which is relevant to the story, believe it or not. I'll erase some of this. Okay, I think I better cap this. I'm gonna erase this pencil here. Is anyone, this might be a little too early since Switch 2 just came out, but is anybody getting Donkey Kong this week? Is it this week? Does Bonanza come out this week? Am I remembering that correctly? I hear it's made by the Odyssey team, the Mario Odyssey team, so it may be something that I can't skip. Like Odyssey was so good. I'm also happy to see that Nintendo, like in Switch 1, has decided that, shortly after launch, we get a platformer, a 3D platformer. I think that's awesome. Just about to ask you that. Yeah. I think if I can somehow, I don't know. No, we'll see. I was gonna say if I can somehow get it without paying full price. That's not going to happen. Yeah, that's and I forgot that like games just went up so much in Canada recently. So I think Donkey Kong is like $115 after tax or something. But it's probably worth it. Is the thing. It's probably worth it, which I hate to say, because we've had video games for like what, $60 for 30 years. But anyway, we'll see. I do want to play it. Yeah, looks amazing. I'm probably planning to get a Switch 2 soon. Cool. Yeah, I can say the system is awesome. It's very nice. I think it just really needed more games, and now it has what looks like a pretty killer app. So I have expecting if we play Mario Kart, you'll knock me out. I won't lie, I'm pretty good at Mario Kart. I don't want to hype it up too much, but I will. We'll talk. Okay, I think this is about ready. Ink up. So what I need to do is get some tape. Give me 1 sec. I need some masking tape. Oh. Okay, we're gonna tape down some of this paper here. Right. Oh no. Is this all my tape? It is. Okay. I have to be a little careful about this. I'm gonna have to reuse it a whole bunch. Just gonna stick it to my jeans a little bit to get some fibers on it, because if we just slap it down onto the paper there, when we peel it off, it might take some of the ink with it. So we kind of have to weaken our tape a little bit here. Fancy seeing you here. Hey, Stack. What's happening? How are you? Yes, I'm trying something a little different. Just a little. You won't back down from challenging me. I know this. I know you know. I know you know I know this. But I mean, I also like a good challenge. So anytime. Okay. Yeah. How are you, Stack? What's happening? I'm going to start doing some of this grass here. That's a weird sentence. And yeah, I think, what do I want to use to do this though becomes the question. I think I want to brush. And I'm tired but decent. I'm glad to hear that you're decent, and I'm sad to hear that you're tired. I hope the first part changes soon. And I feel that. I totally feel that. It would be nice to see more games for the system. Yeah, as awesome as the updates for Switch One games are. They are awesome. I'm really enjoying Violet again, which I know is like blasphemous to some people. I think it's a good game. I think that Pokemon Violet is a good game. I think Scarlet is a good game. And I think they're not only good Pokemon games, I think they're just good games. And I understand why people hate them and why they're mad at them. And I get it. I just don't agree. And I think that's fine, right? Like, that has to be fine. So I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to start doing a little bit of this grass. And again, this is just going to be inky strokes. I'm using a very destroyed brush, which I think is excellent for foliage, because you're going to get a lot more kind of wispy, scratchy lines, and those tend to lend themselves better to things like grass and shrubbery and whatnot. Bob Ross of you. That is like the best compliment an artist can ever hear, so thank you. Also going to update the soundtrack. I think some of these songs are so old. And I would like a little bit more cozy music, which I've been making a lot of lately for certain projects. So, yeah, this is technically a bit of a test stream. I wasn't sure if streaming on YouTube was any different than Twitch. It seems like it's about the same. So when we peel this tape off, we're going to have a nice straight edge along the bottom of the panel. I think I can afford to be a little bit more messy here. Yeah, it's a little bit of speed here as well. So this brush, it used to be my all-time favorite comic inking brush. It had had the perfect sharp tip to it, which it doesn't even almost have anymore. It's practically useless as a precision brush. Let's try to get this into panel here. We'll link this upside down. Actually, we kind of have to, because if I don't, I'll be putting my hands in all that grass we just inked, and I don't think it's quite dry yet, so it will smudge. I'll get all these characters here in silhouette wrapped up, and now I have to remember to, usually when I peel the tape off, I just crumple it and chuck it. I'm gonna have to keep it right now though, because that's it. This tape that we're looking at, that's it. That's the last of the tape. Possibly anywhere, who can tell? Certainly in this apartment, though we'll have to hold on to it a little bit. One. Clean this up just a little bit. Move into 2. It's nice not to get interrupted mid-conversation by a bunch of ads, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes, it is. I think that happens during the replay more than anything. Ads, God, I always said, like, I wouldn't mind them if they were respectful about them. You know what I mean? I'm gonna sit through, like if an ad was, I don't know, 10 seconds once every 10 minutes or something, I wouldn't mind, and in fact I would watch. But when ads come on, I mute the TV and just look away for whatever it is, a minute or so. I just can't deal with they're too much. It's too much. But there is a good chance that if they were only 10 seconds once every 10 minutes, I would probably actually watch ads. And I say that, I don't know if I would, but I like to think that I would, you know. So we're going to peel this tape off now, and we should have a nice straight line at the bottom of the panel that has created a bit of a grassy scene here. Okay. Now we're going to do it all over again, right here. Yeah, the ink is already starting to smudge everywhere. We love that. Ah. Why's the contrast so heavy or so light on the in the me cam? Hold on one sec. It's a little better. Okay. All right, next panel. Actually, almost done this page, which so far I think it's been a fine test. Oh no! I'm sorry, there was a spider on this brush, and I just set it down somewhere. And I don't know. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Get it safely away from the desk. Here we go. What? Oh, we want this upside down. All right. Looks good, less hazy. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a little better. I'm about to be, whoops. I'm about to be settling into a new apartment sometime within the next month. And I imagine it's going to kind of drastically change my lighting situation here. And I'm curious to see how so. I do like the lighting situation here, but it can be very uncertain, I think, at some point in time, which I guess is why people get those fancy ring lamps, but I don't know, we're like most things, we're just kind of improvising here. Have to make sure that I'm getting the grass roughly the same length. Obviously we don't want it to be the same pattern, or we'd have maybe paid a little bit more attention to that. But getting it the same length would be nice. So inking like this takes me back to when I first started working on comics, which was 2015. Everything was completely improvised. I don't think I inked over my pencils. Today I'm generally okay at inking over the pencils that I do and making it look and feel the same way that the pencils represent, right? That was not the case back in the day. Everything was so so ridiculously improvised that I would pencil pages, and it would take, back then, it could easily take like 4 hours, 5 hours to pencil a very simple page, right? And I wouldn't ink over a single pencil line. I would just improvise everything. Never worked out the way I wanted it to. I think improvisation is a skill that you learn. And sometimes there's less improvisation in it. Oh shoot, is that all? Yeah. Sometimes there's less improvisation in improving than you might think. Which sounds weird. But yeah, I think improv is a skill that you learn how to do. In fact, of course it is. That's, people literally go to school for that in theater and comedy. I mentioned that yesterday. Hope everything goes well. Yeah, thank you. It'll be an interesting time. Will you be seeing the new Superman movie? Spud said it was really good. I would love to see the new Superman movie. As soon as time affords it, I'll probably end up going while the Terracool Kickstarter is happening sometime next week. And the reason why is because I need to get my mind off of it a little bit. Running a Kickstarter is, anyone who has run one just knows that it's basically like a second full-time job. You have to be answering messages, you have to be doing promotion, you have to be keeping an eye on everything. You have to be begging people for money. It's it's rough and awesome, and I love it, and I wouldn't trade anything for the chance to continue to be able to self-publish and make comics on my own, or with other people, but independently. But anyway, I'm gonna need a bit of a break from that, I think. So yeah, I fully anticipate going to see Superman during that time. Are you gonna go see it? Also, has anyone seen it? Which obviously no spoilers. Everyone I know who's seen it says that they've liked it. But it's funny because there's so much discourse online, which obviously, I mean, that's shouldn't have to be said. That's just how everything works. But, and some people hated it, which I kind of wasn't expecting. I figured some people would hate it, but I've been seeing a lot of hate. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the hate is from those weird people who just shout woke at everything for, like, I don't know, for no reason. They don't even know what that means anymore. I don't think anybody does, but if they see something they don't like, it's just woke, and I think those people are complaining the most about the movie, from what I can tell. But I think those people complain the most about everything in real life ever, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. I feel like at the very end here, I finally started to get the textures I was hoping for. I won't see it. He's not a favorite character of mine. That's totally fair. Yeah, and you know what? Same. I don't really have any skin in the Superman game. I don't really find him all that interesting of a character. I feel like I don't know. There are just other superheroes I find much more interesting. However, I do understand why he's as symbolic as he is, and I appreciate that about the character and about the creators. A lot of what we have today wouldn't exist without Superman. Actually, almost everything in modern superhero comics just wouldn't exist. And so I appreciate him for that. But and sorry, I should say I have read amazing Superman stories, but they're all kind of what if stories, if that makes sense. There's a great story called Irredeemable by Mark Waid. And it's not a Superman story, but I think it was pitched as a Superman story, which is what if Superman snapped? But you couldn't do a story like that without the Superman archetype already existing, right? And so it's a really cool story. Yeah, that is essentially a Superman story, but not. Red Sun was pretty cool. That was a neat Superman story. So there are cool things that you can do with the character, but everything has to be based off of who he is, which is a very weird thing to say. Like it has to be. You have to know who the character is to really enjoy the what-if stories about him. But they're out there and they're pretty good. And there's a whole lot out there too. Okay, we'll move on here. It's time consuming, of course. Get anxious about things or hitting that goal. I'm sure everything will follow through. Thank you. Yeah, I hope it will. It'll be an interesting campaign. And something a little different. But I'm also going to try to, I think I mentioned, chain them one every 2 months with a very small goal over a 5-book series, because that is what Terra Quill is going to be. I got 5 books written. Each one is 32 pages, and each one has 2 short stories in it, with a little bit of prose as well for world building, and just me kind of talking about whatever. So I don't know. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be fun to revisit Terra Quill. I haven't written or drawn stories in Terra Quill since 2016. Bridge Builder was the last Terra Quill thing that I did, and yeah, I wrote that a long time ago. We'll move into these panels here. Actually, I should probably do the backgrounds for these, shouldn't I? So I'm going to move into this pen again. And just kind of improv a bit of a background here. You can kind of see some of the pencil popping through. I think I have the light, the exposure set up so that it mostly picks up the inks over the pencils. Old Grandpa Ma? Maybe. I didn't consider that, but maybe there will be some return characters popping in. Actually, be funny to do a story where a giraffe raises a baby who turns out to be a giant, and as the giraffe gets older, it shrinks. We'll just do like a reverse. Yeah, so I've written, it's funny, I wrote all these stories back in like between 2018 and 2021. Just going through a bit of a time, and I ended up writing all these new Terra Quill stories thinking, yeah, I'm gonna move into these next, and it's gonna be the next thing that I publish. And then what ended up happening was I got tied up with things like Ogre and Better Place, and then it just ended up never happening. And then I got busy with Samurai Grandpa and Power Rangers and Usagi, but I always wanted to revisit Terraquill, and I finally get to now, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it'll be a fun, interesting campaign for a little while. Only 30 days. It's the cool thing about this one is, unlike Samurai Grandpa, the work is already done. All of it, every single thing that I've had to do for this book is ready to go. It's formatted. It can go to the printer at any time. So as soon as, hopefully, we hit that $400 goal, hopefully that'll happen quickly, and then I can send this right off to the printers. The only little bit of work I'll have to do is for anybody who orders a sketch or a commission with the book, which is an option. I think the black and white sketches are going to be $40 Canadian, which is like $33 American. And the paintings, there's going to be 5 by 7 paintings. Those are going to be, I think, 100 Canadian, which is maybe $70 US. Pretty good deal, I gotta say. So once this is dry, I'm going to break out the ink and water and do a little bit of ink washing on this, and we'll see how it all kind of comes together. After that, I'll have to do just a little bit of texturing, which is like ink splats and a little bit of just extra lines in certain cases. Not really all over the place, but you'll see. And then this page is done. So again, this page is for the first story in the second volume of Terraquill Horizons. I don't want to say too much of what it's about, but I think so. I wrote this years ago, like I was saying. I think I based this off of a real life thing that happened during war times, where there was like one day a year where you could just meet up with the opposing side. And there was no war, there was no fighting. You would just break bread with your enemies and see them as human beings for one day a year, kind of thing. I think it was like some type of Christmas treaty. That was you look it up, you'll see it immediately. But yeah, it was a real thing, and it was really neat. And kind of sad because you would have to come face to face with these people who you really hadn't. You kind of would know, like, we may have to see each other. You probably wouldn't, but, you may have to see each other on the battlefield someday. And this story here is kind of influenced by that. With, as all of these stories have, a little bit of a twist at the end. But yeah, it'll make more sense when it's on. Ledge to this collar. Okay, I think these final panels are ready to erase and wrap up the inks for. I'll try for a sec. I still need the rest of my team avatar commissions, but I'm poor, as you know, and I feel that. Yeah, you're gonna get them though. One way or another, you will get them. But I know what that feels like. It's such a weird time right now for every creative industry out there. It really feels like the bottom fell out, and everyone in every industry is just like, what am I supposed to do? And it's true. It's absolutely true. And there's no good answer right now. I think this is just a really tricky time for everyone working creatively right now. and just everybody in general. I don't want to say this is just a struggle that creatives are having right now, but yeah, it's just tricky. And I think it might be a year minimum before things kind of start turning around. So, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing Terrible Horizons at $10. This is a book I could charge 24, I think pretty comfortably, but I don't want to do that because like in times like these, one of the first things to leave is the entertainment dollar. We just start spending a little bit less money, a lot less money, on the things that we don't absolutely require, right? That this is not new. This is something that is known, and we're seeing it right now. But so even for me, I'm cutting back spending a ton on things that I love, like video games and gaming in general. That's really the only thing I spend hobby money on. Like I'm cutting back a lot. I have to right now. Don't want to, but I have to. But there is, there are still things that I will spend a little bit of entertainment money on, like movies, for example, going out to a movie. But even that is expensive these days. So I thought it was important to keep the price down and keep it at something that, $10 for a book with $3 to ship. And that's Canadian. So in America, I think $13 comes to about $9 American. I thought that was a pretty good deal, and it's something that I would pay right now and feel comfortable paying. So hopefully I'll get a little bit of data on whether or not other people feel the same way. But yeah. Bottom falling out is a great way to put it, yeah. Yeah. That's how it feels. I'm just going to clean up these panels a little bit. So this whiteout pen, this is a Pentel. I think we've all seen them if you've, made art on paper. These are great for both corrections and effects. I can bring in the panels a little bit, just kind of clean them up. Panel borders, I should say. Things like this. I'm just smoothing things out. These make great effects for rain, by the way. If anyone's curious. And what I mean by that is just angling it like this and dragging it across. You can get really super cool rain effects over a black ink or ink wash with one of these. Again, we'll just clean some of this up. And I think that's probably fine for that. So now we'll finish off the spot blacks here. Which is mostly her hair and her eyebrows and a bit of her uniform. And that's about it. But yeah, things will change, and I know that doesn't help today. But I think it's, I don't know. I find it really important to always have something to look forward to, as far as like hobby-wise, I guess. Which I think is why I like card games and board games and video games, because there's always something new coming out. You kind of always have something to look forward to. There's always a sale to be had, or, And so I kind of feel that same way about just work and the economy right now. It's just like, you know what? Sorry, and I don't want to talk too much about this because, like, who wants to think about this? But I think it's good to have something to kind of look forward to. And if that's the economy kind of figuring itself out and working again, that would be awesome. I look forward to that. I wish I didn't have to, but I do. This is a Pentel brush pen, by the way. I don't know if anybody has used one of these, but they're amazing. They've kind of in a way replaced brushes for me. Because it just now, it's very hard to find good sable brushes that retain their point. And not only is it hard to find them, it's hard to find them because they're expensive. And what happens is you could spend $30, $40, $50, $60 on a brush, and you can't try it before you buy it. So if it doesn't work out, you've just kind of wasted a lot of money on something that you'll never use, or that you will use, but not for what you needed it for, right? I bought sable brushes that ended up not having a great point, and now I use them to paint or for fills. But I don't get to use it for what I needed to, and then I have to head out and find something else that works. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I wish they kept making the brushes that I really like, which were these Winsor. It was the thing that I was just inking the grass with. These Winsor Newton Artist watercolor sable brushes in a pointed round. This is a number 4. I guess it still is, but as you can see, it is really neither pointed nor round anymore. It just has... the bottom fell out, you could say, for the brush. Or the top, I guess. And now I just have to use one of these Pentel brush pens, which they're not sable, but they have an amazing point on them. They're excellent, excellent brushes. And not just for fills. They're great for line work, too. They're something that I bring to shows, usually. If I'm going to hang out at a convention and sketch all day, I'll probably have one of these with me. And the cool thing about them is that they're like 20 bucks. They're so reasonable, and they, you know, if you're kind to them, they'll last you easily a year. The only thing that you kind of have to invest in them is these cartridges. Oh, we're almost out, aren't we? There's still enough left to finish this page and probably work on a couple more. But yeah, the thing you have to kind of invest in is the ink cartridges, which, to be honest, I think you could probably fill them yourself if you had the right tools and the right ink. You can't just use any ink. It will clog the brush up. But I think that if you watered things down and experiment a little bit, you could for sure use whatever ink you wanted. Or not whatever ink you wanted, but use your own ink. Okay, I think... Oh, I gotta get under here. So this panel is ready to go for ink washing. I'm just going to take a moment when it's done, and when the inking is done, and get a little bit of water for the ink washing, not for me. Although I probably should get some water too, so maybe I'll do that as well. Cool. Get under here. Statue. All right. That's looking pretty good. I think it's time to ink wash. So give me 1 sec. I'm just going to get a little bit of water in my tiny little mug here. Aviero. I don't know what that is. Or if I'm saying it right, but it's a nice tiny little mug. And we're going to fill it with water and use it for ink washing. I was using it yesterday. I lined the bottom with ink and then stamped it down to make circles. So it's a little... That was from Portugal. Very nice. Yeah, give me 1 sec. I'm just going to fill this up with water. Also, check this out.
So you know how when you put your shirt on, sometimes, maybe it's just me, you pull it down a little bit, right? When you're putting it on. Pulled mine down the other day, and my thumb went right through it. Now I just have a huge hole in my shirt, like an actual gigantic hole in my shirt. So that was nice. I felt like a bit of an old man complaining, like, nothing is made the way that it used to be made. And then I put my thumb through my shirt, and I feel totally justified. But anyway, make sure you don't drink the forbidden water. Yeah, thank you. R.I.P. shirt. Great. That's I don't know if you meant for such a perfect pun, but thank you. Okay. We'll do a little bit of ink washing on this, and then it'll be good to go. I have to go get to work on the Kickstarter for a little bit. You'll never know. Well, I'll ask you later. You can tell me. Hold on. I'm just gonna put this link here into chat, so anybody who's interested can visit the Kickstarter page. Now, what brush do I want to use? I think we'll just use, let's just use this destroyed Winsor Newton brush. Hold on, I gotta think about this for a sec. When we chatting, I'll, as soon as I'm off, I'll shoot you a little bit of a message. I think I can chat and work on my Kickstarter at the same time. Maybe I'll send it your way, get some feedback as well. So, okay, I think this will work. Okay, sorry. And I think this will work because these sable brushes just tend to hold water a little bit better than the synthetic brushes. However, this one is totally frayed and chewed, and I'm not sure if it'll be as accurate as I want it to be. But we'll see. We'll see. We can always switch out if it's not working. So this is just water diluted with a little bit of ink. And I'm just going to apply it to anything that is maybe a little bit darker, kind of, I guess, color-wise. When you're working in grayscale, you don't just use the ink to shade things, you use it to almost add color in a way. And I know that sounds weird. For instance, this basket is a dark brown, this ribbon is a dark red. So you kind of want these things to look almost to place them within, I guess, the composition the way that they would be if this was in color. This back here is, well, first of all, it's in the distance, so we're gonna ink it a little bit lighter than anything in the foreground, right? Do something like this, and we can make it washy and kind of weird. Not weird. Well, yes, weird, because weird is good. But we can make this, like kind of washy and textured a little bit, almost the way stone would look, because that's kind of what we're doing here. We want to make almost like a stone type texture. So we can apply a little bit more in anywhere that looks like it might be like almost a crack or something, right?
Um, yeah, something like that. Maybe we'll get a little bit more at the back here as it moves away from them. Oh, at the so this piece here is actually a sword. Maybe what we can do is, as this gets closer to the ground, add a little bit more, because it'll be moving away from the light source, which is the sun, and towards towards the ground there. And then definitely underneath we can add a little bit more shadow than we would top. Okay, so let that most of this dry a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit more in these crevices and these cracks and anywhere that it looks chipped or just broken, right? I'm wondering, do we? Yeah, maybe around there. Sorry, I'm just setting some of the camera light. Okay, so behind them is almost a bit of a cliffside. And that can also get washed in a bit of a darker ink than, you know, yeah, that looks good for now. We're gonna come back to that and revisit it and add a little bit more to some of its nooks and crannies and whatnot. We'll finish it off there, and then I think for the grass, I kind of want to actually use a heavier ink for that. Something like this, maybe. Yeah, that'll do. I'm going to add a little bit of water to smooth it out a little bit, lighten it up. Not too much, because we still kind of want it to be a little bit darker. Something like that. Okay, that's coming along. So now that the stone statue is dried behind them, we're gonna go in with a little bit more water and a bit of a darker ink. I'm gonna flatten this out a little bit because I don't really want this to trip down. I'm painting on an angle right now. Have to. I'm gonna add like some texture like this. To make it look more like old weathered stone, right? Yeah, something like that. That's gonna dry a little bit. It's gonna take a little bit more time to dry since the paper was kind of already wet. So we'll let that go. It's a little. Yeah, you can see it a little bit better up close. But even so, I have this light on the camera. Let me turn that off. Yeah, it's not going to come in quite perfectly, but when it's all dry, it'll be easier to see. So now that all that is done, I'm going to change brushes. We're going to get something a little smaller. We're going to use one of these Escodas. This is also Kolinsky. It's from Barcelona. It's sable. Out of curiosity, what would you say your favorite piece of music you made be? That's a really hard question to ask. So there was a time where I for sure immediately would have been like, well, none of them. I hate everything I make. That's not really, part of me is struggling to just not to say that. But that's not true. The whole reason I make music is because I want to listen to it. If it's not for somebody else, it's for me. And I have to really think about that. I feel like it's something that changes every month. So I guess I'll give the answer that explains where I'm at right now. Shoot, I don't know what it's called though, because all of the names of the tracks they changed when I put them on Spotify. When I initially wrote them, they were all named after comic books that I was reading at the time. Okay, if you ever go on SoundCloud, look up one of the tracks that are on my profile. It's called Low, L-O-W. I think that might be the favorite thing that I've made music-wise. I think. Yeah, give that a listen. There's something about that track that turned out the way I've always envisioned the music when I hear it in my head, and I feel like I actually got it right on that one, and I haven't on any others. So, yeah, give that one a shot. I think these two are just about done. I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow in some of these spaces here. Like that. Right, easy, nothing crazy. Probably have some in her lap here. And then very likely down here as well. Cool. We'll move on to him. We'll get a little bit of shadow under his hair there. And to put a very small amount on his glasses. The reflection like that. Again, you may not even be able to see that properly. It's not a lot, A little bit under the nose, a little bit in the mouth, under the chin, and maybe down here a little bit. Just a little bit inside the hand here. Okay, so that's about it for this panel. There's one more thing I have to do for it. I'm going to break out a pencil for this. I'm going to draw on a couple of, just pencil in some mountains here. Those are going to be kind of tucked away in the background there. I don't want to ink them with like solid black ink because they're just background elements. So instead we'll suggest that they're there with just a little bit of ink washing there, right? Although that one is pretty good. Reminds you of Triangular Logic, how it has a little chiptune riff that is used throughout the track. Yeah, thanks. I'm always a fan of motifs like that, where they pop back in over the course of the song. And I don't do it very often. They're kind of hard to write because you have to make sure that they're working with every element of the song almost. But it is fun when it works. It is fun. And something like that is really important if you're scoring a video game, because you need to incorporate that main theme into almost every track that you're working on. And that's not easy. Not easy at all. Moving to the next panel. We'll get this stone structure behind her. what is the character you get asked to draw the most? So there would have been a time when it was Spider-Man, and now it's Usagi Yojimbo for some reason. Who knows why? But most of the characters I'm asked to draw are either Usagi or Ninja Turtles, and like, believe me, I am very fine with both of those. I couldn't be happier trying Usagi or Turtles ever. Yeah. And it's always fun too. I'm gonna go something a little darker for this basket here. But yes, ever since doing Power Rangers Usagi Yojimbo, it's kind of been nothing but Usagi commissions. And then the odd Power Rangers one. But I absolutely love how incredibly appreciative those fan bases are, Power Rangers and Usagi, for the artwork. It's super cool to just see, I don't know, how passionate those fans are. And I say those fans, I'm one of those fans. I still have my Power Rangers toys set up, like my OG ones from like early 90s. I still have my Usagi Yojimbo comics, including my Volume 1 Fantagraphs book, which I kind of referenced a lot working on Usagi Power Rangers. But yeah, fan bases for those two communities are amazing. Super cool people. And I say that because I'm in them. I'm one of them. But yeah, everybody's super awesome. And add a little bit of very light shading on these characters, where light may not be much. He's ducked down, so we could say that this midsection could be kind of in shadow. Do a little bit on this reflection here, a little bit under the hair, on the nose, and then under the chin. Feel comfortable. That's enough for him. Totally see Zero from Mega Man X working really well with your art style. That's cool. Okay. I haven't talked about this yet, but I'm working on kind of like a very low stakes. I don't know if it'll be a webcomic or what. This is just for fun. So I don't know if anybody here has read Pluto. It's this amazing story. So you probably know Astro Boy. Back in Astro Boy, there was this story arc about some, like, the world's top robots who were being destroyed. Nobody knew who was doing it, and it was kind of this really neat story that had a lot. It was fantastic, right? And it still is, but I believe it was Urasawa. If I'm remembering this correctly. I think it was Urasawa. Decided that I gotta look this up. Decided that this story arc would have worked amazing for something made for adults, and it did. He released it, and it was called Pluto, and it's one of the best. Urasawa. It was one of the best manga I've ever read, ever. So cool. But I wanted to do something like that with Mega Man, where it was kind of like a Mega Man fan story made for adults, and it was kind of like a bit of a detective mystery story. So I've asked, I was talking with one of my pals. He's going to write it, and I'm going to draw, and it'll just be for fun. So we do have something Mega Man influenced coming out. This will be later on this year. But I've been drawing all of these Mega Man characters to kind of get into the groove, and it's been awesome. Excellent designs. Excellent designs. They do the whole, like gigantic boots thing very well. A little bit of ink here. Again, we want these really pushed into the background. Yeah. This panel looks like it's done. I'm going to add some clouds at the end of this when this is all done. So here is something that I'm going to do, that I'm going to have to stage this properly. I'm going to paint mountains into these 3 panels, but I'm going to have to try my best to keep them almost looking exactly the same panel to panel. Sounds cool. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, when it's eventually done, I kind of have to focus on projects that are gonna pay my rent right now. So I haven't had a chance for just for fun things. And I'm not, that'll come. That'll be back eventually. So there's 2. I can't really see it because of the light, but 1, 2, 3. Okay. We have 3 mountains there. I think those are close enough. They're not going to look exactly the same, but I kind of don't want them to look exactly the same. Like, it'll just be better if... well, I don't know if it'll be better, but it'll be one of those things. I kind of like when it looks like the same thing was drawn over and over again in an attempt to make it look uniform. That makes sense. But I also, kind of have to save time with certain things, hence copying and pasting this character down. Okay, do that. Close enough. Which I think is kind of the best way to approach doing something like this, is understanding that, like, look, it just has to be close enough. Do 1 stroke at a time, just in the exact same way in each panel, right? Do 1 down here. Down here, okay. And then we'll add 1 more set right up here. Something like that. A little bit of ink. And then those panels are kind of good to go. We don't really have to touch them too much after that. All right, last couple panels, and then I'm gonna call it. So what do we want to do here? I think we'll do what we were doing last time. We'll start with this character behind them, or this statue, right? Back here as well, and then we'll move on to cliffside under them. Again, we're just going to do a very light wash There's no need to darken this up too much. There will be dialogue covering this as well, so it's kind of like we don't need to put too much attention into it. In fact, it's kind of hard to see with them. Oops. Yeah, let's do this. Then again, we're just going to add a very light little wash. Some of the crevices. And as it gets closer to the ground where there's going to be less light, we'll add a little bit more. Ink. In the grass, as in last time, we're going to add a bit of heavy ink into it. It's a bit of a dark green, right? It won't be too heavy, but just enough. And when I say dark green, it's because you kind of want to keep mindful of what color something is when you're adding a wash to it. For example, if this was like kind of yellowish grass, I wouldn't have added such a heavy wash to it. For sure, something a little more subtle. So as I get ready to wrap this up, I just want to say thanks for hanging out. I know this is a little bit different, and actually it doesn't feel different at all. This just feels like Twitch, but yeah, it's a little different, just a little. But I'm meaning to try streaming on this platform for a little while, so it was nice to give it a shot. See how it feels. It's almost no different, but yeah, I think I'm gonna stick here for just a little bit longer, and do this kind of semi-weekly, or sorry, I should say like twice a week little hangout. We'll just hang out, talk about art, show off some brushes and some tools, and talk technique, and just relax, be cozy. I think that works for now. Again, we really don't need too much, right? How does that look without all that light? All right. Little dude here, get his face. That might be a little dark for a reflection, but we can use some water to lighten that up. Cool. Under the hair. And yeah, Friday, I got that Kickstarter launching. I'm excited about it and afraid, and excited and afraid, and I think it'll be cool. It's a weird time for Kickstarters right now. Very weird time. But at the same time, that's no excuse to, not release comics. So I'm excited to get these new stories out there. starting with Aircool Horizons #1. It's going to be 32 pages, black and white comics, 2 short stories, a little bit of, I don't know if I think I mentioned it, doing a little bit of prose and some like additional short story material in them. Just like world building stuff. You know, it's almost like back matter essentially, but it takes place in between the stories. There's going to be opportunities to get sketches, paintings, original pages from the book, you name it. But again, this is a very low-key kind of light Kickstarter. The goal is, I think, $450 Canadian. It's like $350 US or something. There's going to be, or there won't be, I should say, like super heavy rewards. I'm not doing like a cards or anything. I will be, but I'm going to be saving those for when I eventually collect the entire book as one trade paperback. Which I'd also love to do a hardcover for, if you know, everything permitted, but we'll get there, one thing at a time. Okay, I'm just going to add a couple of clouds real quick, and I'm going to use a large brush for that. What do you want to use for that? Ooh, one of these. So, yeah, I'll probably be back on Thursday, and I'll do a little bit more painting for this book. Again, very subtle. We don't really want these to kind of get in the way. There is a lot of dialogue as well, so let me darken this a little bit. Yeah, you can see him a little. This brush here is just something that, what is it? It's an above ground brush, which is an art store here in the city, in Toronto, where I live. And it's probably one of the better art stores. But obviously, yeah, as you can see, they kind of make their own brushes and whatnot. They even have their own paints. But yeah, they're pretty good. How simple these mountains look. I used to think all the time, like, oh, I have to add as much detail as I can to every single thing that I'm drawing, and since kind of abandoning that thought, I've had so much more fun working on backgrounds. Sometimes things just need to be simple, readable, essentially, and that's it. Not everything has to have a million lines on it or all the detail in the world. Yeah, okay, that's it. Whoa. Zoom out a little bit. Let me just fix the old focus here. I don't have autofocus on because I'm not a fan of it. I think, especially when the paintbrush is kind of pointed up towards the camera, it is constantly switching focus, and that's not great. So, okay, yeah, something like this.
into that. And again, I'm going to drop him down into each of these panels. I think we need our light on there. And then those two at the bottom. So I'd say that this page is just about done. I may end up doing a little bit more texturing on it, but that won't be today. I'm going to go take care of some Kickstarter stuff. So I think with that, I'm done. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for popping in. I'll be back on Thursday. Gonna hang out a little bit more, make some comics, and see how it's going. Also, if you're gonna hang out and sit there and draw all day, try to make sure you stand every once in a while, or just don't be hunched over, which is something I'm still working on. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm done. Also, I didn't drink any of the inky water, so thank you for pointing that out to me. I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll be back on Thursday, and yeah, thanks again for hanging out. Peace.